Pycelle will basically stick his nose in the arse of whoever is feeling or reliable the most or whatever. So it's certainly a good three. And then along with those three, there's also Barristan. So Barristan is actually like a legit bloke who is, reliable. But he's kind of reliable to do things a certain way, to do things openly and by the book, and he's good at fighting, but he's not so good at scheming, as we learn with dragons. So Barristan is a good bloke and all, but he's not all that useful in this particular situation. So Ned basically has a terrible team to pull this off. Like, if this was like Ocean's 11 or something, or one of those like high school shows where you get together a squad of experts, like you got the explosives expert and the stealth expert, and then like the talkative guy in the suit with the sunglasses. Ned Stark has a terrible team to pull off his heist in which he is planning to catch the throne, to steal the throne of Westeros and to put it in its rightful place. So Ned Stark's like, alright, this is my team, and I'm now going to reveal to you the kingdom. I'm going to reveal that Robert Baratheon wrote a will, and the will says that I, Ned Stark, am Regent, Lord Protector of the Realm. He wants me to run things in his absence while he goes off and feasts in Valhalla. I am to be the Regent. So he doesn't reveal that Stannis is actually the true heir and that Joffrey's a bastard, but he does reveal that Robert named him the Regent. And so Ned thinks on that he decides not to reveal that Stannis is the heir right away. And so the need for deceit is a bitter taste in Ned's mouth. He doesn't like withholding information like this. So you can only imagine the bitterness of the taste of his deception over Jon Snow. Jon Snow's parentage for all those years. That hurt Ned Stark. So then he's like, alright, we've got a message. The King's Steward finally on the door. And he declares that the new King Joffrey has requested, demanded, the presence of the council in the throne. So it's almost as though Cersei kind of knows that shit's going down right now. It's almost as though Pycelle might have told Cersei that Pycelle told Ned to run the stuff. Which I suppose is obviously fair enough, given that she is the queen. But still, Pycelle is probably to some extent complicit in Cersei's control of the situation. So Joffrey summons the council, and Littlefinger helps Ned loosen his arm as they go down the stairs. Because of course Ned is still injured. He had a horse fall on his leg, and you don't get over that very quick. And so Littlefinger, who is of course about to betray Ned, of little Peter Bailey, just wants to help his good friend Ned Stark out in any way that he can, right? Until he gets the chance to fucking put a knife at his throat, right? Littlefinger's really enjoying this. This is a big chapter for Littlefinger. And so they head down the stairs, and then Janos Slynt meets them outside the throne room. Janos Slynt, that other paragon of justice and principles and reliability. So Ned Stark made this deal with Littlefinger, saying like, yo, can you like get the watch on my side, the city guards, all those blokes? Janos Slynt is the commander of the watch, and Ned got Littlefinger to bribe Janos to be on the side of Ned, or at least Littlefinger claims that he did. And so they head into the throne room, and the royal steward declares that Joffrey is the new king, first of his name, king of the Andals and the Rhoynar and the First Men, blah blah blah. Gods save us all. Joffrey has been and then Ned Stark walks in, and Ned Stark remembers the last time he approached the throne like this. So the last time he approached the throne like this was during Robert's rebellion and the sack of King's Landing, when he and his mate Bobby Baratheon went to war for the sake of a lot of reasons, but one of which for Ned Stark's sister, Lyanna. But when they walked into the throne room after the sack of King's Landing, and Aerys was dead, and Robert and Rhaegar was dead, who was sitting on the throne but Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer, who had famously played with the blood of the man he swore to protect. He was sitting on the Iron Throne, and Ned had to sort of shuffle him off. And we have that dialogue from Cersei where she's like, Ned, when you were in the throne room that day and you kicked my brother off the throne, you should have sat the throne yourself. You would have been a better king than Robert Baratheon, you should have sat the throne and ruled henceforth. Wouldn't that have been great? But Ned, honourable, decided not to. Would have been a very different world if he sat the throne. But it's interesting the parallels here, right? Because in the same way that Ned turned up to kick Jaime Lannister off the throne, I mean, he wasn't really seriously trying to be king, it doesn't seem. But he was sitting on the throne and Ned kicked him off. In the same way that that happened, Ned is now approaching the throne room to kick Jaime Lannister's son, Joffrey, off the throne. So it's almost like Ned's lot in life is just to boot villainous Lannisters off the Iron Throne every 20 years or so. He sets an alarm on his phone for every 20 years saying, "Look, boot off the Lannister and set things to rights." So that's what Ned's imagining in his head. He's just imagining all he needs to do is turn up and say, "Yo, you shouldn't be on the throne. We'll sort this right out. It's going to be great." And then everything will be back to normal and everything will be correct. That's what Ned, in his little Nedo vision in his head, is imagining. But things are not so simple. And so he heads up, and Kingsguard, 5 of the Kingsguard are protecting Joffrey, and there are a bunch of Lannister soldiers around. Cersei is there in a pretty gown, and she's wearing a tiara. They don't really do the tiara thing in the show, maybe because it would get confusing distinguishing between like tiaras and crowns and stuff. In fact, they don't do a lot of crowns in the Game of Thrones show, do they? I think it's a shame that Robb Stark doesn't wear a crown in the Game of Thrones show, which is a shame because Robb's crown is such like a cool, powerful symbol in the books. With regards to the whole thing with like Stoneheart having Robb's crown and all of that, and also it reminds us that Robb Stark in the books and the show is a king. He's a king of the North and the Riverlands. He rules 2 of the 7 kingdoms. But I think that's not as evident to show watchers as it could otherwise be. Stannis Baratheon also we never see wearing a crown. He does wear a crown in the books, I'm pretty sure. So, I don't know, crowns are kind of important symbols. The show goes without. I think the show generally avoids any kind of like showy appearance, the sort of medieval thin, colourful appearance, like Renly's armour. Like Renly in the books has this bright green enamelled armour, which looks really sort of ostentatious and colourful. And the show generally strays away from that stuff. Part of which might be budgetary, but I suspect that part of it is just that like they don't want people like when they were starting out the show, they didn't want to like turn people off with all this like colourful, ridiculous, feathery looking, ostentatious imagery, which might seem like childish or cartoonish, I think. And so they instead opted to go with a more sort of toned down appearance. Like the characters and the costumery, especially early on, are not all that colourful, not all that ostentatious. And I think that's part of the show, of HBO just trying to keep the show palatable when they were introducing them. But maybe they could have brought back some of the gaudy clothing and appearances later on. That could have been cool. Like I want to see some like Parisian catwalk fashion. I want to see Yeezy season 4 of Westeros. Wouldn't that be exciting? I want to see like a fashion show where like Thoros O'Meara like struts down in like his red cloak. Like red is this season's black. And then you'd have Cersei wearing like 15 different. Yeah, and you have Dario. Yeah, Shiera Seastar. Dario is like the great example of a character who looks ridiculous in the books with like his pointed beard and his like golden teeth and all of this and the blue hair and all of that ridiculousness. The show decided, you know what? Hey guys, they sat around the boardroom and some HBO exec was like, hey guys, I've got a revolutionary idea. How about, instead of giving this character a really distinct, interesting appearance that reflects his personality, instead of that, how about we make Dario look like another brown-haired, bestubbled white guy of middling height who sort of just acts in a sort of generic, gruff, masculine way? How about that? Revolutionary! And everyone was like, clap, 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 clap. Have a pay rise, Dan Benioff. Which is so sad, right? Because Game of Thrones is so full of fucking bearded, dark-haired white guys. Not that I've got anything against bearded, dark-haired white guys. It's just more bland than it needs to be. I'm not gonna like wave the diversity flag in all your faces, but the characters in the Game of Thrones books are really like colourful and diverse, and there's a lot of flavour going on there. And the HBO show has sort of removed some of that flavour, which I think is a little bit of a shame. Yeah, Euron as well. Chippy Sheo, Euron is also the same. In the books, Euron is like this swaggering, like he's like the dark side version of Jack Sparrow. He's got like a fucking eye patch, and he's got like this squad of this motley crew of these like mute people and slaves and Nakoro and that's Victorian. But he's got this really crazy, colourful crew of blokes, and he's got blue lips from drinking shade of the evening, and he's got names for his eyes. He's got the shining eye, and then the blood eye or the dark eye or whatever Theon calls it. Like Euron is brimming with fucking habits and personality, and so much of that is communicated by his appearance, and it makes him weird and scary. You only need to take one glance at Euron, and you realise that he's different to all the other characters, something new. Whereas when Euron Greyjoy comes up in the show, it's like, wow, another bearded, stubbled, unremarkable white guy. He doesn't even have a gold patch, which is it's the Pirate King. He's described as like a blackest pirate who's ever sailed a sail or whatever they call him on like the blurb. In the show, it's like, hello, look at me, I'm new and exciting because I'm another angry bloke who's going to talk about how important I am, and sometimes I'm going to kill people, but mostly I'm just going to talk about how scary I am. It's just such a limited way to communicate, I think, and it's a shame, because I feel like at this point in HBO's life cycle of Game of Thrones, they probably could have worked an eye patch into their budget. But they don't want to look like a kid's show, so maybe they made the right person. Anyway, that wasn't a tangent. That was directly related. Watch this flawless segue as we return to the fashionable tiara of Sierra Lannister. Yeah, the scene with Baelor on the bridge was pretty good. It was. They actually used some of the book dialogue there, which was actually kind of cool. Gilbert Farwind in season 7 confirmed. I wish. Gilbert Farwind is like the sleeper OG of Westeros. Gilbert Farwind is going to lead everyone into the Sunset Sea, into a greater utopia, and everyone's going to follow Gilbert. Gilbert Farwind is probably Azor Ahai. I mean, he's got the salt because he's surrounded by the salty sea. He's got the smoke because I'm gonna go ahead and assume that they have fire on the Lonely Lights, the island where the Farwinds live. He has, as is well known, the ability to skin change into a seal, which I think is just going to be the exact kind of power you need to defeat the Night King and the White Walkers. The White Walkers are known. If you actually take the second word of every sentence in A Feast for Crows and then translate it backwards and then translate it into Spanish, then back into English in Google Translate, it actually tells you that the White Walkers have a secret elemental weakness to seals. White Walkers